Well, hello there, and welcome back to the very latest episode of the Love Machine podcast. Now, I am thrilled to dive into today's episode that is all about breaking free from the online world of dating apps and embracing real life connections. Joining us today is a fantastic guest, Sophie Ziegler, the creative mind behind the Otto Connection. This exclusive invite only club is revolutionizing the dating scene for those seeking genuine connections beyond the swipe right culture. The Otto Connection stands as the antithesis of dating apps, providing a refreshing and in-person approach to meeting new people. Picture this: no more swiping, just a community of singles expanding their social circles through exciting events organised by its members. Sophie's brainchild is injecting fun and authenticity back into dating, and today we're going to explore the incredible benefits of this approach. From movie nights to garden parties, supper clubs to engaging talks, the Otto Connection offers a diverse range of unpressurized settings for members to connect. It's more than just dating. It's about fostering meaningful connections in a relaxed and enjoyable environment. So, if you're tired of the online dating treadmill and yearning for a more genuine way to meet like-minded singles, you're in for a treat. Tune in as we unravel the magic of the Otto Connection and discover the joy of meeting people in real life. Sophie, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, James. Thank you for that. That
You're
was, I think,
welcome.
you described it better than I do.
It felt like I was doing a commercial, doesn't it? Right. Welcome to the Otto Connection. We're,
It did.
we're going to explore the incredible benefits. Anyway, nice to speak to you. We had a chat the other day. I love what you're doing. It's your own project, this, isn't it, that you've set up, the Otto Connection.
It is.
So,
It is my baby. It's my baby. I've been thinking about doing it for a really long time, and I sort of kind of I in lockdown I suddenly had a bit more time, and so I actually managed to get it together, and it's a joy. I mean, I'm really enjoying doing it, and it's working out how I imagined it was going to be, which is particularly I don't know whether surprising, but it's not I don't know what I was really expecting it to turn out how I hoped it would, but it really has.
I'm very impressed with what you've done. We'll talk about how you got into this and what made you start it up. But the big question I've got is, what does the Otto Connection mean? What does Otto stand for?
Now I'm not sure I got a particularly good answer to that. It was the guy who was doing the wireframes, helping me sort of design the site, suggested it. I was going on about I just couldn't think what to call it. I had all these different names and I kept coming up with things, and people kept going, oh no, that doesn't work. And he said, why not call it Otto? Why not? You can have sort of 8 founder members, you can have 8 questions, you can do 8 of everything. And it so happens that I've got a grandson called Otto, and the sort of synchronistic joy of those two, I just thought, well, let's give it a go. So I ran the name by a whole load of people, and everyone loved it. And it works on a sort of visual level, but it's easy. It's not particularly, I know it's a male name, but it's not particularly sort of masculine, and it's easy and memorable, and that was where the Otto bit came from. The connection bit, well, actually, the connection bit in fact came from the fact that I was trying to register Otto.com, and it was already taken by some auto company in somewhere Austria. And so I was sort of thinking what to put it in, and I thought, well, connection. It's all about connection, and so that sort of seemed, again, rather sort of synchronistically fabulous. And so the Otto Connection was born as a name.
It is a great name. I thought it stood for something like one together or something. I didn't know. I couldn't work it out. So
Right.
maybe it will in the future. You can go and think of something clever for that. But I like the reasons behind that. It's funny. I was trying to name my son's YouTube channel yesterday. It's a private YouTube channel. He's only 10, and getting all the names on there and googling things and getting ideas, and everything's taken. So you got Otto Connection. I love that. Otto.com. I'm not surprised. It is a 4-letter word. All 4-letter words would be taken. It probably cost you millions of pounds to buy them. But anyway, so what is your story then, Sophie? What made you start this members club?
Well, I split up with my husband back in the early 2000s, 2002,
Yeah.
and from then on, I've been in and out of relationships. I've had some lovely relationships, but I've also had some nice time single, and I've sort of, I rather celebrate being single. I think it's got some amazing, wonderful sort of sides to it, and I find it sort of. I think the thing that is difficult about being single, as much as anything else, is the fact that you tend to feel like you are one single person and you're surrounded by a world of couples. And however, even if you do know a few other single people, it's an incredibly couple orientated world. And I think that it's I wanted to create something where single people could meet other single people, but not in the pressure of an online dating forum. I mean, I did it a bit. I know some people have fantastic time with it. I thought it was pretty brutal, actually. I mean, the sort of one person I met I really liked. After a while, it transpired they had a girlfriend and I had the whole time. And there was something about the sort of the lack of transparency and accountability and honesty in it that I just don't think it's a particularly good basis to form a relationship on. And so I wanted to create something where people had to be introduced, because that meant there was a level of accountability, but also something where you met people in a much more relaxed, comfortable, easy environment. And that is what meeting people in groups, but also doing things sort of facilitates.
There is definitely a gap in the market for this, because I think I said this to you before in our initial chat we had before we recorded this. So many of my clients are sick to death of online dating and dating apps, but maybe they've tried speed dating once in a pub, didn't really like it. There is something missing as a more social activity where you're a team. You can go and meet people just as friends, maybe more, but you've got other people that can then connect you to other people. And that's the important thing. Every time you meet someone and you get to know them, they might have 3 single friends they can introduce you to, or they can bring to an event. Yeah,
absolutely. And that is what, and it's that spider web of connections running out and out and out that is sort of so exciting. And but at the same time, I mean, I suppose doing it this way, the invitation thing is a bit tricky, because it can mean make it a bit limiting. And so we're trying to find ways now to bring people in who don't know anybody on it, and we're going to have taster events and find other ways to get people in, because I think it needs to go possibly beyond the sort of somebody knowing somebody, but at the same time, we've got to keep that level of accountability, because it is so important, and it makes people feel so comfortable, and people are opening up their homes to people coming into them to do things in their houses. They are, spending time with people, and it's just kind of, I don't know, it's nice to feel there's a certain level of sort of safety amongst it, which you don't get with the online dating.
You don't at all. And things are getting worse with AI and fake profiles and scammers. Let's just clarify something. You said that people run their own events then on the site. You run some of them, but members can go on there. So I'm having a dinner party tonight. I'm going to have 10 people coming along to that. Is that how it works?
Exactly. Or I mean, my thinking behind it was that everyone could end up doing the things that I think it would be fun to do, but quite honestly, quite often they're quite random. And there are a lot of other things out there that I'm not particularly into that would be really fun to do, or things that I've never tried. And so the idea is anybody who's on it can put an event on. And it might be something as simple as somebody thinking, oh, I'd really like to go and see this movie, putting it up there, and other people signing up for it, meeting up for a drink before, and going and seeing the film. It might be, they might be really into, I had a conversation today, for example, with somebody who is obsessed by Wagner. So I am not an opera buff. I mean, I really know. I went a few times in my late teens, and it went slightly over my head. I just didn't. I never got into it, but I just feel there are so many people out there who really love it, that there must be something there that is worth tuning into. So anyway, he rang me up and he wanted to put on. There's a little what do you call it, a fringe opera place up in Regent's Park, and he wanted to put that on as an event, and I just thought, God, it's perfect, that, because it's exposing people to something they just wouldn't have done. It's giving a boost to the fringe opera. It's exposing people to something which they haven't done before. He said he'd then come the week before and give a chat to people who were going to go about Wagner, because he's so obsessed by it, or just is so sort of, so wants to promote it, wants to make people love it. And I just thought, this is exactly what Otto's about. It's about trying out new things that you've never tried, and in this particular, there are different tribes in Otto, and we might talk about that. But this particular one is for people in their sort of 50s and 60s, and I think it's the time in life when people start closing down and they start doing less and less things, and they see the same people and they do the same things, and they go, and it all comes a bit of a treadmill. And I think it's incredibly important to open your life up and take on new experiences, do exciting new things. And this is basically laying that at your door, making it very, very easy, and giving you a whole load of people to do it with. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I see that quite a lot. People have their social circle who then go off and get married, have their own families, and it's difficult to make new friends as an adult. And I'm experiencing that slightly myself. I'm getting the chance now to sort of see lots of friends I've not seen since the start of COVID, because I don't go into London very much. I go in occasionally. So I'm trying to resurrect that. I've lost touch with people. But it's
Yeah.
really hard to make new friends and start new conversations, because a lot of these clubs are just for singles. And I've been married for 12 years. I haven't been single for 15. But is your club exclusively for singles, or is there still a social element to it?
I would say there is absolutely a social element to it, but it is exclusively for singles. So
Yeah.
quite a lot of people have asked me why I won't do it for couples, and
Hmm.
I think basically because I think that singles have been very, very badly treated. I think I said earlier, it's a very, very couple orientated world, and I think there should be something there for singles. And I've now very happily got quite a lot of my coupled up friends saying, "Oh my God, I want to join. And why can't I join?" And saying, "Well, get single, come and join us." But it's got to be. I think it's time for there to be something to make being single actually better than being in a couple. And I'm not knocking the state of couple, because I've been incredibly happy in relationships, but I think it's been a bit skewed, and I think it's about time that single people had their place to have some really good fun.
I agree with you, but don't you then fall into the same trap that most dating agencies and dating apps fall into, when your members, if they're successful, will meet someone and then you're gonna lose your members?
Well, I have to say, right at the beginning, that was absolutely my line. I was very felt very strongly about the fact that if people coupled up, they had to leave. But then I started going out with somebody, and I realised that was going to have to change. So I changed the rules quickly and
Yeah.
made it so that if you sort of met someone on the site, you're very welcome to stay on if you want to. And the joy of it is that most of them do, and that is
Okay.
really lovely, because they've made a whole new collection of friends who they don't want to leave, and they like the events, and they like, so it's I think it's proof, it's sort of proof pudding of how it works, is the fact that people want to stay on it, and the fact that we like them so much we want them to stay on it, despite the fact they have now become evil couples. I think says a lot for the whole spirit of the whole thing.
But they're walking, talking ambassadors for you. So if they start running their own events for you, then that's great. It's win-win in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
it's something to aspire to, that this works and what we're doing is amazing. And look, this could be you next.
Yeah.
And testimonials are going to tell people. That's the good thing about this. Because of course, on a dating app, people don't stay on there. Hopefully, if they're married or they're in a relationship, they leave. But if they're going to stay with you, maybe just come and meet everyone because it's their friends. That's a wonderful concept and a great way of sort of building up a team and
Yeah.
making people remember who you are. Now, there's a lot of people out there who would love to attend events like yours, but they are just terrified to even get out of the house and to walk into a place they don't know. What advice do you have for people that are very nervous about attending?
Attending one of my things, or just in generally
Well, in
attending?
general, but we'll focus on yours, but just general, any sort of event.
I think as a general thing, I think there are a few things. I think one is that everybody's nervous. Everybody's nervous. It's a very, very rare person who feels entirely confident walking into a room full of strangers. I mean, seriously rare.
Mm.
Go with a friend. If you've got, I mean, chances are you probably have no one person who's single, who's a friend, who maybe whatever. So I mean, do that. I think really it's that thing of just remembering that everybody else is in the same boat, and it's, I mean, coming to my things, a lot of people have said they felt nervous coming the first time, but they've equally said that within minutes of arriving, they've realized that actually it's a very, very welcoming environment. And I think anywhere where you've got a whole bunch of single people together is going to be a welcoming environment, because basically everybody's there because they want to meet other people. They're not there because they want to stand in the room on their own and be snooty and not chat to anybody. So I guess actually that's more to the point, is the fact that if you go to somewhere that's full of single people, everybody wants to talk to everybody else because they want to meet everybody else, and that's why they're there.
It's funny you to say that, because I have to go to a lot of children's parties for my children, and the dads don't talk to anybody. They sort of hang around the edges, as I do. And I can talk to people that I know, but it's very difficult to start conversations. Once you're in a relationship or you've got children in those environments, it's very, very hard. But having run singles events, I can approach anyone normally in real life, any party or a singles event. But going to a kids' party, all the other dads and parents, it's really difficult for me to do that. And I've acknowledged that, I think, over the weekend. But that's a bit of a problem that I've got. I need to overcome this.
That's hysterical. I love that. All you dads standing around, hopping from foot to foot.
That's what we do, because no one's starting conversation. It's a bit awkward, but everyone's grimacing.
I think take a leaf out of your single book and just go and talk to one of them.
I do sometimes, but I didn't at the weekend. I thought I regret it a little bit because the very next day I went for a run. Who do I find coming towards me? The father of the child who I didn't speak to, but recognised me like a nod as we ran by. That was it. But I'm only saying this because I like to talk about my own experiences, and I've been there, and I understand it's difficult for some people to do this. So, if someone's going to attend one of your events,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to them to make the most out of it?
Oh, you've got to talk to people, haven't you? I mean, you've got. I think you. I mean, that's the only way, really, is to get. You've got to start chatting to people. You've got to take into account everybody's in the same place, and just go up and just talk to somebody. And if you don't have that communication, because that's what it's all about, connection and communications. I mean, that's what becoming a happy human is about connecting with people, I think. And so start off with little acorns, and just go up to someone and say, hey, hi, you done this before? What are you doing here? Is this fun? Whatever. But just start a conversation, because they're going to be feeling as nervous and on edge
I
as you are.
agree. I would add two things to that myself, because this is what I do every day. I would say, first of all, talk to everyone, even if they're the same sex as you, because talking to other guys, if you're a guy, is a great thing to do, because then you're a team. You've got someone to go and talk to. If you are a female, go and talk to other females. You never know. Maybe you can attend to more events elsewhere or together in the future. But realizing you're not alone, it just mentions early on that you're not the only single left on the shelf. There are millions of people in the same situation, and realizing that can really help. And maybe their ex-boyfriend could be perfect for you. You just don't know.
Yep,
And
yep.
the second thing I would say is that once you get used to coming to your events, run your own events, host your own party. If you're the host, then it gives you almost an element of power, and you're in a better situation where you can be more confident. Everyone's coming to you. Then you'll be more confident in your own venue, in your own home, and that can really help.
I think both of those points are incredibly good. I mean, and on the first one, a lot of people would say that they have made some really, really good female and male friends on
Yeah.
Otto, and that is a lot of. I think a lot of what. I mean, I very much don't put it out that it's a dating app, and that is not. I mean, well, I don't put it out as a dating app because it's not an app, but I don't put it out as a dating forum, because I don't want it to have that feeling that it's pressurized, and that everyone's out there checking each other out, looking for somebody, and so it is much more of a social network. And
Mm.
obviously, you get a whole lot of single people together, people start going out, but that is very much not the sort of not the intention of it. And I think as a result, well, as a result, it keeps everything much more relaxed. But B, people have, I was talking to a guy last week, and he said, I've met a couple of really good new male friends, and it is it's just a joy. And that's the same with the girls. So many of them have made a whole new kind of raft of really strong new girlfriends, and that's I mean, quite honestly, it's as important as finding a relationship, really.
It is. Men find that harder. Men tend to be lone wolves when it comes to this, but women like to have their own social circle. But I think it's important to men to have that too, because there's an awful lot of loneliness in the world right now, particularly for men. So I think if they can come to this and make new friends of either sex, that's really, really important. Your website is quite secretive. There's not You don't get to know very much without looking and registering, do you? So how
No,
do you promote this and get people on board?
we well, relatively recently, we have started doing Instagram, and I
I've
think
seen
that's
that, yeah.
probably. Have you seen that? Yeah, I think that's probably our best way of sort of communicating with people. There were quite a few articles in the papers a bit ago, and but it's I think the Instagram probably is the way forward, and then you can be then if you're curious, you then there's a form that you fill in on the landing page on the website, and that gives us a bit of information about you, and then we come back to you, and we're now starting doing taster events, so people who don't know anybody who is on the site can come along to a taster event, meet some of the members, and we can have a chat, see how it goes, tell them all about it, and work out whether we think they'd enjoy it, and vice versa.
So where are these events? Are they in London, Surrey? Whereabouts are they?
They are at the moment, I would say that they are predominantly in London. That they're pretty London centric. We're spreading it out though, and this is the aim for this year, is to get it out all over England. We got a lot of members in Hampshire, a lot in Dorset, a lot in Sussex. And I mean, they're actually all over the place in Surrey, and going up on up and out towards Oxford and then up towards Newmarket. They're actually it's sort of spreading gradually. Its tentacles are reaching over England, and most of the events at the moment are happening in London, but it is beginning to happen more outside, and that is very much the sort of aim for this year is to get it out there, get it out all over, because you know it's ridiculous the idea that you're needing it in London but not in anywhere else, and it's obviously absolute rubbish. So yeah, the idea is to get it out.
That's good to hear. I think London's the hub of dating, but there's so many other areas that are in desperate need for something a bit different. And some of those places you mentioned definitely on the list as well. I think the further you go towards the seaside or towards the coast, it becomes more difficult. Maybe not Brighton and places like that, but maybe you got towards Devon and Dorset, and it's difficult around there to do this.
Is that a sort of statistical thing? Is it? Yeah, how fascinating.
Yeah, because there are people who are more remote. I've got lots of clients who are in Cornwall, and they go on the dating apps. There's no one around for 10 miles, but they would travel somewhere to go and do things. And the same is true for maybe Norfolk and Suffolk as well, depending how remote you are. But I noticed this. I think it's good that you're expanding, and over time, it will become like a spider web, like you said, and it will be everywhere. How are you going to manage it then? How are you going to manage all these people?
I don't know.
One thing at a time.
It'll be a nice problem to have. I mean, I think probably what I mean, it's very much evolving organically, and the idea, I've always wanted to do it so that my sort of long-term plan is to have it so that you can actually travel between different countries with it. So you could go to, you know, in your age group, you could go to New York, say, or Paris or Milan or wherever it might be, and you could link into the group there, and then you'd instantly have a landing pad of people who were single and like-minded and were also on the Otto forum, whatever it is. And so that's the idea also around thing. And I think probably as it grows out of London, I'm going to get people who run different bits of it. But we've also now got a younger one going too. So we've got one for kind of 28 years old upwards.
Let's talk about that. You mentioned tribes. What does that involve?
So the idea was to basically have a tribe is of a sort of age group. So basically the dazzle of zebras, which is my one, is everyone's in their 50s, 60s, maybe a little bit down, a little bit up. But it started from me, and I'm 61. Then you get and then there's a younger one, which is for people kind of like 28 up, and that started very recently. It started in November, November, something like that. And then I really want to do one for people in their 80s, because I think it can be a really lonely place in your 80s, and so I really would like to. That's my next one I want to set up. But the idea is that sort of within an age, it will go all over England and then gradually out from there.
So how do you stop a 59-year-old going to a 20s, 30s event? Or wouldn't you stop them?
Because it's a completely different interface. So you go in, and all you see is your tribe. So if I went into the Leap of Leopards, which is the younger one, all I would see is the people who have peopled it. You know, the younger ones in there, and then I'm going to do the odd sort of joint events, because I think things like the summer party, it would actually be really. I mean, I love cross-generational events, and I think that would be really, really nice. So I think come the summer party and things like that, we might.
So what happens if someone gets too old for one of them? Do they get moved up into the next one, or do they get the option of both? What would happen? Am I overcomplicating this?
I don't know, James. It's a very, very good question. I haven't got there yet. Yes, I think probably you get moved up. I don't know. Yep. I mean, there are things we're still trying to iron out, because it is still so in its infancy, actually. And things like that will become something we'll have to think of, but I haven't yet got there.
The reason I mention that is that when I used to run singles parties, it used to be, you couldn't run, say, a 20s, 30s event for men and women equally. It would have to be women 20 to 30, men 25 to 35. And it's an outdated concept, but people still want that to some degree. How do you stop that happening? Or don't you?
It's very tricky. I don't know. I mean, it's with the older one, it seems to be fine. With the younger one, it's more of a challenge. Because we were thinking actually it'd be quite nice to open it up to go younger, because quite a lot of 25-year-olds have said they really want to join it. But it is a sort of is a you know, a woman in her mid-30s and a man in their mid-20s as compatible. I'm not sure. It's a tricky one, but I'm not sure. And I think I think the age gaps have always, the relevance of age gaps has always shrunk the older you get. And I mean, when you're at school, someone who's 10 wouldn't talk to someone who was 16. It was like you said, but obviously if you get, the older you get, the more that shrinks. We've been really pondering about the younger one recently, and how to deal with it. I mean, I think probably one just has rather more age relevant events.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to have a certain degree of common sense to these things. If someone turns up, he's blatantly out of the age group, they're going to feel uncomfortable anyway. And people are going to probably make them feel uncomfortable, whether they want to or not. It'll be, who's this person turning up? Absolutely. And another reason why I say this is I saw a similar club to yours recently. I'm not going to name it because it's your podcast, but it's a more friendship-based one. I looked at the Instagram, and everyone looks like they're in their 20s and early 30s. I thought, well, this sounds great. I'd love to go to these things. As it's purely friends. It's not to do with dating. I thought, I'm going to go there. I'm going to feel out of place. But I thought, I wouldn't personally feel out of place, but would they think, who's this old guy coming? Not that I'm that old, of course, but I don't know. It's a bit of a strange thing. I've just connected with them on Instagram, so I might end up just asking them, because I can make recommendations. People want to make friends or they want to come to events like yours. But it sounds to me that yours are a bit more, well, there's more to them in terms of being dating related. So there's a purpose for them rather than just general things. Because you can go on to meet up and meet people, but I find that people don't generally enjoy them, not the clients that come to me anyway. So let me ask you a couple of quick questions as well, because we're coming towards the end of the podcast. So I've got to ask you things that I ask everybody. So the first thing is, you've got meetings now about what's coming next for you and what your plans are. Anything exciting coming up over the summer?
What events wise?
Yes, or future versions of the site, or anything you're thinking about that's major?
Well, I think expanding into the 80-year-olds is something that I'm really excited about. It may not happen, but I feel that's really important. I've got a few other expansion ideas actually, which aren't necessarily around people being single, but I'm still working on them, so I'm gonna keep quiet about them for the moment. We've got a lot of events coming up in the summer, but again, they haven't, they tend to get done later on. I'm just kind of really excited to see where this year goes. I mean, last year we tripled our membership. We ended up with about 3 events happening a week. We doubled our office, i.e. somebody joined me, and it grew. I mean, it really felt like it grew a huge amount. And I think by the end of this next year, I'm really excited to see where it goes to, because it's got such good energy with it at the moment, and people are loving it so much, and it just feels like it is on a real verge of traveling in an extraordinarily exciting direction. Fantastic. But I don't really quite know where it is. I've got a fabulously blank canvas. I'm just going to see how we go and where we go.
This that you can't see on the podcast is literally my blank canvas I've got here. This is a whiteboard you put up on the wall, and it's like a bit of poster. You write new things on it. That's my blank canvas for the next coming month. I'm also very, very excited to see what you do next. I think you've got a great project here, and it's going to expand into, as long as people become aware of it, that it's going to be endless, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. There's a huge demand for real life interactions. And you talked about energy just there as well. Now, obviously, you're someone that is a bit of a go-getter yourself, and you do amazing things, and you're not going to sit back and just wait for life to happen to you. So here's a great question I do ask everyone, but it seems very relevant to you. Do you have any sort of daily habits or routines and things that you try to do?
When I wake up in the morning, actually, one thing I have started doing, which has made a huge, and this is ridiculous, but it really does start me off with an absolute bang. I get into the shower, and I have it on quite hot, and I make it hotter and hotter and hotter until, and this isn't a very good, I mean, it obviously shows the hot water in my house isn't particularly hot. So I get it so that it's literally hot water coming out. And then I throw it down to cold. And every time I think, my God, how can it be that cold? And it's like, but I come out feeling, whoa. And whatever is sort of, I've taken into the shower with me in the morning in that sort of slightly, sometimes you wake up and you're a bit worried about something, or you've had a dream or whatever I do after that, I come out absolutely flying for the day. I mean, it gives me a real sort of burst of energy. I make sure every day I talk to friends. I just think that's really, and particularly when I was working, before I had Annie working with me, it's quite lonely working on your own. You sort of think, and so
I know. Yeah.
very much made sure that I sort of kept. Yeah, you're in the same boat. It's a funny thing, and keeping yourself motivated and everything else. So I think it's very important to keep in touch with people. I'm very lucky. I've got quite a lot of my kids still living here, and they are a phenomenal joy. And I keep, they sort of, I don't know, being with them and chatting with them is always lifts me up.
Yeah.
And I think if I've got any other good habits, I'd like to say I always get to bed at 10, but I don't. I normally get to bed nearer midnight. I'd like to say that I took exercise every day, but I don't. Although, having said that, I was being quite good about it, and I stopped. And I suddenly thought, my God, I can't believe it. I still seem to have muscles in my arms, and I realised it's because I've got a very, very old car that doesn't have power steering, and that is my exercise: is driving my car around, trying to get it around corners, pushing it when it breaks down.
That's good exercise. It sounds very valid. I like the fact you mentioned the whole sort of cold ice therapy as well. The whole Wim Hof school of thought there, the icy blast. There are huge health benefits to doing that. Personally, I hate the cold more than anything, and I can't quite face it. My wife can jump into an ice cold plunge pool, and my kids can without even thinking about it. I can't do that.
But that is amazing. Just try with the shower, because I can't do that either. I mean, I could jump into the sea or something, just because it's sort of, I don't know, I could sort of do that. But the shower thing is, I mean, it is quite incredible the difference it makes to your day.
Yeah, I will try that. I will
give it a go.
I'm going to go slightly before, having cold baths with really cold as I can. But cold baths aren't quite the same thing. Not the same impact or the same shock. Maybe that's an event you can run. You can run ice shower events. That sounds really cool. And maybe there's some clever pun that I can think of and insert into this bit here that rhymes with Otto, something to do with ice. I probably can't do that. It won't come into it. But you know what, Sophie, you've been absolutely fantastic. Let's round this off now. If anyone wants to find out more about you and your Otto Connection, how do they do that?
If you go and Google www.theottoconnection.com, you will come up with our, as James said, slightly minimal landing page, which doesn't give you any information at all. And then you can fill in a little form, and then we'll come back to you. I mean, it gives you a little bit of information, but not that. And probably the best thing to do is to look at the Instagram, which is at the Otto Connection.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you so much for that, Sophie. You were brilliant. Hopefully we'll talk again another time. And I'm very excited to see where your events go and what you have coming up for the rest of the year. So have a great day.
Thank you, James. That was really enjoyable.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.